Hello and welcome, my name is Vince and this is Vince64. For the very first ever episode of this unknown little gaming show here, I'm going to be talking about racing games, more specifically Grand Prix racing games on the N64. Well, mostly. Some super fast necessary backstory first though. I did not grow up watching football or soccer or whatever you want to call it. FIFA? No. In my home we used to watch Formula 1 and because of that I'm a pretty big F1 fanatic. So naturally, I really enjoy playing racing games. I can spend countless hours driving these virtual cars on these virtual tracks, eating up the virtual miles. And as it so happens to be, Formula 1 and racing games in general are among my most favorite video games. Here's why. There were only a handful of Formula 1 games released on the N64, and the one we'll be starting off with is F1 World Grand Prix. Probably one of the most enjoyable out of all the N64 F1 games. It's authentic, it has the official licenses, the driving leans towards simulation, though the game leaves it up to you how much you want it to drive like the real thing, by making you choose between a rookie, professional, or champion difficulty. So let's have a look at what F1 World Grand Prix has to offer. Upbeat menu music? Check. There's an exhibition mode, a Grand Prix mode, a challenge mode, a time trial mode. You do know what a time trial is, right? And a two-player mode, which is of course a multiplayer. If you can find friends that are skilled enough at F1 games and have the patience to actually learn how to drive in one of these beautiful, beautiful cars. Let's try to be as authentic as possible here with the Grand Prix mode. Okay, time to pick our team and driver. We're going to pick Mr. Shinji Nakano here. Not because I'm such a fan or have any knowledge on his racing career, no. It's because I like his cocky smile. Next up, we get to select the aforementioned difficulty and level of sim driving. We're going to go with professional here, because, obviously, I'm a pro. Now, here's where F1 World Grand Prix really sets itself apart from any of the other F1 games on the N64, or indeed all F1 games in general, because I have not seen an option like this in any other game. If you enable the 97 events, the qualifying and race results are 100% accurate to how the actual 97 Formula 1 season has turned out. Well, to a certain degree. Obviously, you as the player still have an impact to how the AI drivers react, which is actually a really fun option for the fans. So, you've got your Friday and Saturday practice sessions, but who really cares? It's all about the qualifying and the race. Whoa, that seems a bit intimidating, huh? Well, you can mess around with the setup of your car as much as you like, but I found it best just to go with the track set option, where your team automatically gives you the best possible setup. Thanks, guys. So, pick your setup, hit exit, and go! After that pretty realistic looking pit exit bit there, we are finally unleashed on the track. As far as sim arcade games go, that did not go well. Hey, I'm not a complete noob at F1 racing games, but this, just as with any other F1 racing game, you need a bit of practice to get used to how the car handles, or a lot of practice. Even with the N64's analog stick, you still see me jerking the car left, right and all over the place. Getting the best racing line is essential if you want to set a fast lap time, which of course I can't do here. Let's just see how the race goes. Okay, I got this. Start revving the engine, just enough to get the perfect launch. Here we go! Yeah, okay, I need some practice on that. Okay, so far we're racing at a steady pace, a slow but steady pace, but thanks to my handy sports almanac here, I know that it's going to spin wide within just a few corners here. Oh my god! Let's quietly move on to the next game, shall we? The first F1 World Grand Prix was quite successful, so they made another F1 World Grand Prix 2. Released 2 years after the first game, this one focuses on the 98 Formula 1 World Championship, including that sweet event option, so we can manipulate the results to our advantage with our mastery over time and space. Compared to the first game, they didn't change that many things. The only thing that does spring to mind is that they did tweak the handling of the car a bit. Maybe it's just me though, but I feel like it controls more like the virtual F1 cars I'm used to driving. Just like with its prequel, F1 World Grand Prix 2 has a full Formula 1 license. Well, apart from one driver, Williams. Who? Yeah, it's Canadian driver Jacques Villeneuve and son of the legendary Gilles Villeneuve. Apparently, Mr. Villeneuve, oh excuse me, driver Williams, wasn't too happy about his name and mugshot being featured in a video game. Well, apart from the horrendous 2002 Speed Challenge, Jacques Villeneuve's Racing Vision on the GameCube. Driver Williams was either too full of himself to be included in the game, or the developers didn't hand him a sack of money that was large enough for his ego. The graphics are a lot less... well, there is a noticeable difference between this one and its prequel. The cars look better too, and the racetracks have somewhat more detail in them. Let's go for a challenge mode this time, since our last venture into the Grand Prix mode did not turn out that well. Challenge mode offers you, well, what else? Challenges! You're presented with certain real-life scenarios the drivers in the 98 season had to cope with, such as retaking the lead after an unnecessary pit stop, or finishing in the top 5 while being plagued by mechanical problems. Let's see here, I have to retake the lead from my teammates, sounds simple enough.
You're in second position now. Only 3 laps to go.
Okay, I've got you in my sights now, Coulthard.
Coulthard, only a second ahead.
I am McLaren's #1 driver.
A few inches later.
Well, that was easy enough. Let's try another one. This time it seems we're driving as Ferrari driver Eddie Irvine. All we have to do is block the other drivers behind us so Schumi can build a big enough gap. It is displeasing that I can't go for the win here, but hey, it's a team sport after all, so let's do this.
Schumacher only a second ahead. Hackett only a second behind. Hey, Hackett only a second behind.
None of you is getting in front of me, you hear me? Unless I go off the track, of course, and you pass me. Well, I'm not going to take this lying down. I'm coming after you. Ha! Well, I wanted to crash into him, but the 1998 F1 cars are apparently indestructible. Solid 10. Based on the 1999 Formula 1 season, F1 Racing Championship was a big thing when it first came out. Not only was the license turned over to a more competent developer, switching from Paradigm Entertainment to Ubisoft, more specifically Ubisoft Shanghai. Yes, Ubisoft has a studio in Shanghai that, up to the release of this video, has worked on Ubisoft games such as Far Cry 4, Assassin's Creed Unity, and the unforgettable Just Dance 2015 China. I said a more competent developer, not to start talking smack about F1 World Grand Prix 1 or 2, they were solid games, but either way you played it, the handling of the cars wasn't really that authentic. You could jerk the car left and right and take corners without little to no consideration of brake distance or how much you braked at all. F1 Racing Championship changes all that, and for the first time ever, console players had an F1 game where the cars handled more like its PC counterpart, Jeff Cremon's Grand Prix series. And yet again, this game features a full roster of the 1999 F1 season. Even Driver Williams is in here, though he's no longer Driver Williams and goes by his real name, but I'm going to call him Driver British American Racing.
Several bad puns later.
So right off the bat, the game asks you to pick between arcade and simulation. What do we have here? Single race, championship, time attack, training, and duel, which is a glorified name for the multiplayer mode. Yet again, there's a whole bunch of different settings you can tune to allow the car to handle even better on specific tracks. And it's visually more appealing, which makes it easier to understand what these settings actually do. But I sadly don't see any presets as with F1 World Grand Prix. So let's set our fuel load to a minimum so we're a bit lighter during qualifying. Okay, the game just drops you in the middle of the track, that's kind of weird. The driving is considerably better than with the former two. The car turns in much smoother after you brake, and it even takes the correct braking distances into play. Overall, the handling is superb. I picked the Monaco circuit here just to have that little bit of a challenge.
A few inches later.
Gotta do better than a 124, come on. Oh, nice touch with the engine noise pitching in the tunnel.
A few inches later.
Better, but not quite there yet. One more try. Out of my way, you fool! Much better. I'm actually surprised I snagged the pole position there, but it is a testimony to how much better the handling is in this game. I'd say it's the closest thing to driving like a modern F1 game we've seen so far. Good start, I might have an actual shot at winning this. Why is that yellow flag there? A yellow flag indicates that you cannot overtake on that part of the track, usually when some dumbass crashes or spins. Oh, it's green now. Green means the yellow flag situation has ended. I'm putting in some solid laps here and am ahead of the second driver by quite a margin. Oh, pit stop? Hurry, hurry, hurry! Oh, I have to mash the A button. Faster, you fools! I lost 9 places with that. And of course the AI drivers aren't going to pit, because it's only 7 laps and that pit indicator was green the entire time, wasn't it? Oh, fuck! Well, nothing I can do about it now, so might as well start catching these guys. Hurry, 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 come on, man! I'm not gonna make it to the podium, am I? No, I can still do this.
One eternity later.
The guy in front is way too far ahead, so I took that unnecessary pit stop and threw away my own victory. Just like in actual F1, kids. 10 out of 10. Next up, we're going into unlicensed territory. Monaco Grand Prix was released in 1999 and is a Formula 1 racing game, which does not have the license to use team or driver names. It does have the official F1 sponsors featured in the game, like Castrol and Schweppes. Yay! But hey, at least we have some hilarious names. T. Zakitan, J. Van Teeve, T. Wine, A. Hansfasen. Yeah, the list goes on. If you're noticing some similarities to F1 Racing Championship, then that's because there are. Right down to the mode names and the car's handling. Monaco Grand Prix was developed and released by Ubisoft Paris, a year before they released F1 Racing Championship and got the official license. So this game is kind of like the others' testing ground. Simulation mode here is quite hard and probably the most challenging out of all the games in this video, but it's easier to get used to than with F1 World Grand Prix's bumpy handling. There is a track creation mode in the PC version of this game, but it is sadly missing in the N64 version. It's definitely an okay game. I like the added career mode where you enter your name and join the F1 racing circuit. The point of this mode is to start with one of the low tier teams and drive your way up to the top. But as it lacks the official F1 license and Ubisoft's other F1 game handles a bit better, F1 Racing Championship still beats this one hands down. So, we've had F1 World Grand Prix 1 and 2, which were both kind of meh. Then we had the excellent F1 Racing Championship developed by Ubisoft Shanghai. And Monaco Grand Prix. Anything else? Super Monaco Grand Prix. Super Monaco Grand Prix has got to be the most nostalgic racing game for me. There's 2 reasons why. This, and it's pretty incredible. Oh, and I absolutely sucked at the original Mario Kart. Now, seriously, the music, the sprite graphics, a pseudo 3D racing, a full-fledged career mode, a rear view mirror. A rear view mirror! Nowadays, a rear view camera or mirror are pretty standard in most racing games. But Super Monaco Grand Prix actually was the very first racing game to feature this. And it really helped at preventing other drivers in overtaking you. If you suck, pro never gets overtaken. As with its less super Monaco Grand Prix, this game does not have the official F1 license, because it was released way back in 1990, when F1 licensing for video games wasn't even a thing yet. But, well, as Sega did not want to get sued by any of the teams or drivers, they went with made-up names. Though, these are just a bit less ridiculous. P. Klinger, A. Picos, A. Assalin, U. Its main mode is a Super Monaco Grand Prix mode, where you race in the titular Monaco Grand Prix. This mode is based on the arcade version and it plays almost exactly the same way as if you were tossing coins in an arcade cabinet. The World Championship is the one I personally had, and occasionally still do, have the most fun with. It works out the same way as with Monaco Grand Prix on the N64. You enter the F1 circuit and start out with a low-tier team. Before every race you have the option of selecting a rival driver. If you beat that driver once or multiple times, it depends on the team's tier, then you get his seat and move up. There's loads more to talk about for now, so this'll have to do. Super Monaco Grand Prix also gives any virtual F1 driver, young and old, the best advice you'll ever need in any race, under any circumstance. I'm Vince64, and this was Grand Prix Racing Game.